Hey guys, Rexasaur here, and welcome to the first Battlefield Tactics video. With me today is Daimyo, but you won't be hearing him because his voice is ugly. Mwah. In this video I will basically be showing you what to do in certain events happen during the battle, like you get charged by a mass of cavalry or infantry or blah blah. But this is the setup that you saw in my first Rome unit tactic video. I have 1 Agatus, 3 armoured legionnaires, 3 Principes, 3 auxiliary infantry, 2 Syrian archers, 2 Balearic slingers, 2 Socii equites extraordinari, 3 legionary cavalry, and 1 Praetorian guard. So that's the setup, and I will see you in the first tactic. Okay guys, so both our armies have marched to the centre of the map, so we've all stand in front of each other. Usually what happens, it might be a little bit of skirmish if you've got missile cav, but obviously on both our sides we do not have any. Daimyo is using the Ptolemaic Empire, or Egypt as it's called, army. He's using maximum funds because I want to show you all the tactics using like really elite troops. You will obviously not be facing against this kind of army unless you want to, for some reason, go against an army who's like 10 times more expensive than yours. In his army, he's got a lot of citizen cavalry, and his generals are Ptolemaic cavalry, I think it is. He's got a load of thorax swordsmen, a load of royal guard, and Cretan archers. So all of these excel at what they're used for. The Cretan archers really excel at missile range. The royal guard excel at phalanx sort of fighting. Thorax swordsmen are just OP. And citizen cavalry are pretty good shock cavalry, I think, or just melee cav. Anyway, so what's going to happen at the beginning? You will always see a skirmish phase. So if you're against someone who's got better skirmish than you, what you're going to want to do is send your cavalry around the flank. I'm going to use these little things. You're going to send your cavalry around the flanks. So there's my cavalry. He's going to probably send his cavalry to counter. So on his defensive, he's going to send his cavalry to counter. At which point, if he's got better cavalry than you, you're not going to want to keep going. So now we're going to do a sort of practical experiment and show you how it's done. So now Daimyo is going to send forth his archers at the practical experiment. And there they go. So I'm going to send my cav over here. My cav over here. So now we're all moving. His archers are pretty fast, they only have to move in a straight line while mine aren't. Actually, these guys don't seem to be running. No, they are. They're really slow though. Oh, that's disappointing. And now Daimyo, sensing the threat, is going to send his cavalry on one flank. Now this is an error, you won't see it often, this is just, it could happen. If he sends his cavalry on one side, you can do maybe a whole flank maneuver around, so maybe around this, if I move these guys, around this way. If not, you could just attack his archers straight away. So that's what happens if you're in a cav formation. So that's what could happen. Right, now for the next practical solution of what could happen. Okay guys, this time if somehow you have more missile troops than they do, it's always good to do the same thing. However, you want, instead of just sending them forth to die, so I'm going to send my men forth, what he's going to do is probably counter it with not all his cavalry but 3 or 4. So while he's doing that, what you should do really is send your cavalry forward to try and prepare this thing. This may make the engagement go faster and just start straight away. Right, they are moving all forward. So what you want to do is back them up with your infantry. Usually what you want to do, instead of sending them out like I just did then, is move them with your infantry, so that if they ever get charged by cavalry, and this works especially with pikes, not really with Rome, but with Rome what's good about it is that if they have troops that can fire back at you, you can hide them within your ranks, because Roman shields are incredibly effective at well, just protecting themselves really. That is what the shields are used for. For some reason one of my dudes have decided I'm not going to fight today and I'm going to stay back. Fair enough. So just move forward your men, and then you're a bit faster and your missile troops will be firing. I've put them off fire at will just to explain all this so we don't suffer any unfriendly casualties. Right, so that is the skirmish phase really with Rome, and that's pretty much the skirmish phase for all factions, to be fair. He's probably going to do exactly the same thing as I did but on the back foot, send his cavalry around the flanks, try and counter and stuff. Right, so next we're going to go on the infantry tactics. tactics. Okay guys, skirmish phase out the way. There might, during the skirmish phase, be a cavalry battle, depending on which cavalry tactics have happened, if you've backed up your skirmishes with your cavalry or not. Daimyo's just moving his cavalry for the lols right now. Trying to back up his men more often. So now there's going to be a sort of an infantry fight. As you can see, Daimyo's front row composes of pikemen and then swordsmen. My row composes of both spears and swords. I outnumber his front line, but he has a back line compared to me having one Praetorian Guard to back up because he has the area of effect. What would happen is usually the skirmishers would also help the front line. We're going to do as if we've lost all our skirmishers. So what would usually happen is, with a pike line, what you want to do is charge them. You don't want to be charged by them because you don't get any charge bonus. However, if they are in phalanx formation, you can expect to take quite a few casualties if you charge, but your peeler should take down at least a few of their front row, which would be nice. Plus, Roman shields can take quite a battering through a charge in phalanx. However, you want to time this perfectly so that your cavalry, if you've still got any, hits the flanks just as you charge. So say I charge forward my armoured legionnaires into this unit here, I want this cavalry here to go straight into the side as it happens. So if, say I move my cavalry here, I want it to back up straight on. Daimyo, however, is going to obviously try and do the same thing. He's going to try and counter my cavalry with his cavalry, try and prevent me from doing a hammer and anvil on the side. So at this point you're screwed pretty much. You have to sort of move away whilst being charged, and it's very possible that his cavalry will be able to charge your men as you go into their phalanx. However, it is also possible that if his cavalry is going to go like this, you can, because I have more men on my front rank, I can dedicate my 3 spears to go against 3 of his phalanx. I have one sword on each side going against his others, and the other 2 swords can flank around, get his cavalry or get his other units. This is called an envelop move, and it's really, really effective if you've got a better front line. And Rome is amazing at doing the enveloping tactic, because most of the time the enemy will spend most of his money on phalanx fronts. So say if I just do this straight away, I am going to attack you now, Daimyo, by the way. So now I have these 2, and I want these 2 to go around the flank here. As you can see, I've used my peeler. He is in phalanx. I've killed not that many people over here, but if we look, I've disordered a few of his line. I haven't lost that many on the charge, but there we go. These 2 men are now over there. My cavalry are ready to charge around the flank over here, so just send my cavalry around the flank. These guys over there, he's going to send his swords to back up, so now my swords will go against his swords 1v1. In addition to this, I've got these guys here, once again 1v1, and I've got more cavalry over here. Right now I've got issues of these troops are much better than me, and I know this because he's upgraded them. So you've always got your rally ability, you've got inspire, raise banner, which is really good, and that should usually be enough. Obviously, these are Royal Guard, these are the best that they ever offer. They're like Praetorian Guard version of phalanxes, so that was never going to do anything. As you can see on the flanks, I'm still doing pretty good. So now I'm changing my cavalry in, and I can do some manoeuvres. With these 2 cavalry here, I'm going to go around the back, while this one is going to try and hold up this other cavalry. My Praetorian Guard should, at this point, have been in the fray. I sort of completely forgot about them, to be honest. So we've got a cavalry battle on the right, and on the left we have a sword cavalry battle. He's seen that I'm going to try and go around to do a hammer and anvil. So he's split off his cavalry, maybe done 1 cavalry on each man to allow. I'm still going to charge force, do a Draconis, which prevents, which is a really useful thing. It prevents cavalry manoeuvres from anti-cavalry from happening. Really useful. So next we send these in. Obviously, I haven't won this engagement. Don't forget your generals doing that. My general's going to go in, try and do a hammer and anvil against his troops. I'm gonna get myself on the spears, aren't I? Be careful with AI. Not very good. So yeah, that's how you should do a battlefield tactic. Obviously I've lost this because Daimyo is using a 10 times better cost army, but generally that's the tactics you want to do. You want to try and envelop. As you can see, my flanks are still holding out pretty good. What would usually happen if your front line is crumbling because the front of their line is much better than you, the side will push through. Obviously his swords are much better than my swords. So, but you'll be able to push through on the flank, envelop them around. If not, if their flanks are better, then your flank will crumble, but you'll have crumbled their centre. So in both ways you will win. In this case, he's got the best troops everywhere, so it's impossible for me to show you a winning streak. But that should be all you need to know how to fight with Rome. The envelop tactic is definitely the best tactic to use as Rome, and one I would highly recommend doing. Your skirmishers aren't the best. We didn't see really who won that, but you would probably win because he's just got Grecian archers everywhere. But yeah, as you can see, we haven't actually lost yet. But it's soon, so I can tell it's next. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Battlefield Tactics. Many